A little over 24 hours after India's cracking win over England and securing a place in the final of the World Test Championship, we are going to look back at some of the most happy facets, at some of the most impressive facets of this Indian triumph. This was a 3-1 series victory for India, obviously coming back from that defeat in the first test match in Chennai, then that victory in the second test match at the same venue, and back-to-back wins in Ahmedabad. Before we go straight to Deep Dasgupta and ask him to run us down that series with a little touch of nostalgia, here's a quick look at why you should download the Hauser app.
क्या आप भी किसी अपने सपने मेरे तुम्हारे टीम 11 पे टीम बना रहे हो और बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हो? हमारे साथ खेलोगे? हाउस पे खेलो लेजेंड्स के साथ. हमें हराओ और जीतो डबल कैश. Log on to houser.com and win real cash.
Right. Going straight to Deep Dasgupta, who is Deep. Okay, let's before we go to this go down to this victory. I know Deep is already laughing. He knows what I'm going to talk about. 2 extra days in Ahmedabad before the shorter format start. But okay, let's face this. We all thought that we would want to see this as a 4-day, 5-day test match. Didn't happen because India was just too good. But yeah. I know we've talked to death about it, and you've said, a lot of cricketers have said, just move on. It's time to move on past the pitch debate. But one last word on the pitch: there was no demon. There was no demon in the pitches in the past, and this one was a flat batting pitch. Deep. It was just abysmal to see the way England batted here.
True. I think 205 for England, and then obviously India as well, losing those early 5 wickets. I think, definitely better than that. In the end, I think India got what would be the pass score on this pitch, around 350, or rather a good score through 350, anything between 350 to 400. But yeah, played some really good cricket. Especially someone like Washington and Rishabh. I'm sure we'll touch upon all that. But yeah, nothing wrong with the pitches. Come on. Anyways, if you look at Test cricket nowadays, whether it's in South Africa, England, Australia, or India, very rarely you get to see 400, 450, 500 runs being scored in an innings, which is, for me, I think, good in a way, because that just tells you that there is a lot more action in a Test match happening. So yeah, I think batting overall, this series could have been better from both sides.
Exactly. That's a very important facet to touch upon as well. The fact that India were able to bounce back, not just look at this series and in Australia, where we lost so many of our senior players along the way. That's the most impressive facet, isn't it, Deep? Because of the way India look. You need not look any further than this Test match. Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Cheteshwar Pujara. Throughout the series, they didn't get as many runs as they would have liked. Obviously, they played a couple of impactful knocks here and there, Rahane and Kohli both. But the most impressive, the happiest part of this aspect was the way the young guns batted throughout. All bold. You had Washington Sundar in the last Test match, started 96, unfortunately. Rishabh Pant's efforts, and also Aksar Patel. How delightful is that to see?
It's amazing, Rajshri. I think both Australia series and this one, I think it's a testament to the system that we have here in India, the cricketing system, and also the supply line as far as the next generation coming through. Because again, it's about the young guns being given an opportunity, and most importantly, them kind of grabbing those opportunities coming their way. You've taken a few names. That's for this series, but even if you look at the Australia series, so last couple of series, it's all about opportunities being given and opportunities being grabbed by the newcomers.
Absolutely. Deep, but where did you think, the couple of questions, and both are related to the other. Where did you think England lost the plot after starting off so magnificently the subcontinental tour? And how were India able to bounce back? Because Ravi Shastri said something very important, that, the players obviously looked listless. Ravi Shastri used words like zombies and a kick up their backside and all of that, what they needed. But it is true, right? When you're on a high and you come back to playing Test cricket away from the crowd, there were no crowds for the first Test match. That might have impacted them. And also the fact that they were tired. Let's face it. The time travel, because the time taken to travel, come back to India, the bio bubble is not easy, and
Yeah.
maybe they could have done better with a few days off.
Yeah, I mean, as Ravi mentioned himself, that that's not an excuse. That, I mean, he did mention that, and he also mentioned that it's not an excuse. I mean, it is what it is because that's the new normal. We all have to kind of accept it and move on with it. But I think, as far as England is concerned, I think they started off really well. But end of the day, I think lack of experience in subcontinental conditions or other Indian conditions, and also the quality. They did play a couple of test matches in Sri Lanka on almost same kind of surfaces, but it's just that the quality of spinners that India have is definitely, with all due respect, better than the Sri Lankan side. So one is that. Secondly, I also think it was a huge mental challenge because the second test match, the pitch played the way it did. I think before that, when you look at the pitch and suddenly, I mean, it's like, we going to England and seeing a green top and kind of saying, what, oh my God, there's so much of grass on the pitch. So subconsciously, even though I'm sure they would have backed themselves, but subconsciously you're on the back foot, looking at the pitch and looking at the conditions. Even though the English team were very good, I mean, I didn't hear anyone really talking about the pitch as such. I'm talking about the English players. I mean, none of them really said anything in all the press conferences or all the uh, pre-match, post-match interviews that they've done over the last month. None of them complained, but just get a feeling that, I mean, uh, the pitches got to them, maybe subconsciously.
Right. No, no. On the contrary, in fact, Jack Leach, I remember he said that England must learn to prepare better pitches, and he found nothing wrong with the
Yeah.
pitches. But yes, it could have been also the attitude, because former England captains like Andrew Strauss, Alistair Cook, all of them, Michael Vaughan raising so many questions on the pitch, and they're bound to get to you at one point in time. But talking of attitude, Deep, you look at someone like Rishabh Pant. He comes up and says that I have the license to hit shots. And not just that, he continues to be himself behind the stumps. And you would be very happy to see
Oh,
the way he has progressed behind the stumps as well. That was just remarkable to see. Apart from his batting, that's another facet he's
right.
really worked hard on.
Oh, absolutely. There's no two ways. I think he's enjoying his cricket a lot more. He's one of those guys who enjoys his cricket. Whether he's talking about it, you can see that even when he's talking about the game in all his interviews and all, you can see that, that pure love for the game, or the passion for the game, the enjoyment for the game. I think maybe in a year ago when things weren't going his way, that happens with everyone. I mean, I've felt it myself, that suddenly when there is a lot of criticism and you're thinking about it, you stop enjoying the game, and you kind of forget the reason why you started playing the game, or why you're playing the game at all. And I think Rishabh, when I look at him while he's keeping or batting, that enjoyment factor is there, is so much there, and he's having fun. That does not mean he hasn't worked hard. Definitely he has worked hard. You mentioned about keeping. Two things stood out as far as Rishabh is concerned for me is, one, with his keeping. I think he's made a few changes, and we've mentioned some technical changes, as we've mentioned this before on Sports Today, about collecting the ball beside his body and staying a lot more stable in his stance and all that jazz. So he's been working on that. One. Secondly, as far as batting is concerned, see, we all knew about his potential. Nobody ever doubted his talent, what he can do. We've always mentioned he's a potential match winner. So nobody doubted that. So the biggest issue was choosing the right ball, choosing the right bowler. I think his shot selection and his ball selection has improved drastically in the last couple of series, and especially this 100 that he got. If you look at the first 50 that he got was of 82 deliveries or something, and this wasn't his so-called natural game. And he's understood the fact that in Test match cricket, there is nothing like natural game. Yes, you would back your instincts, but you also have to play the situation and the condition, which he did beautifully in the last Test match. His first 50, India was under the cosh a bit when he came out to bat. He rode that wave very nicely, playing a little different from what he wants to. And then obviously after he got that 50 and then some audacious batting, I mean, come on, stepping out to Jimmy Anderson with a new ball, that was unbelievable.
And how about the reverse sweep? He got everything that he wanted to see in an innings. And yes, I repeatedly Deep Dasgupta has said this about Rishabh Pant. He said, just hang on because he's batting so well, and the moment he keeps getting that confidence will also rub off on
Yeah.
that other side of his game. And there you go. This is
Mm.
exactly that. It is exactly what Deep predicted. Also talking a couple about these couple of these other young cricketers, Aksar Patel, Boria Rhythm, and myself. We were doing this show right after the game yesterday, and there were a
Yeah.
lot of questions around Aksar Patel for obvious reasons because Ravindra Jadeja, when he's fit,
Yeah.
he becomes the first choice to come back and fill up that position.
Yeah.
But this is like you said, right? The system that has been behind this whole carving out of these new cricketers. But what about Aksar Patel and where that would leave him once Hardik Pandya is fit to bowl and once Ravindra Jadeja is fit to play cricket again? But a
Oh,
phenomenal performance.
see, I will not get into that right now because obviously we don't know Jadeja, and obviously when Jadeja is back the way he's been playing last couple of years, I mean he's your first choice. But it's just great to have that kind of an headache where you have to think and choose between two quality players. Aksar, I think what Aksar did really, really well was generally what happens is when you come from, let's say, a white ball cricket background. I'm not saying Aksar has not played red ball. He's played what 30 plus first class games, so he knows how to play in the red ball format. But his obviously skill set are more suited to white ball cricket. But what I really liked was that he did not change his game plan. His strength is always been being accurate, his pace, and that's what he did. Even with red ball, he did not want to change his bowling style. Suddenly, he didn't want to be slower in the air and everything else. But he just backed himself, backed his skill set, which he's so good at, and it paid dividends. So for me, I think that is the biggest takeaway as far as Aksar is concerned is that he was not overawed by the situation because Test cricket can be a little overwhelming at times. uh, as a kid, you always want to represent your country in all formats, but especially Test match cricket. And then coming and still having that belief in himself that he can still be successful doing what he's been doing with white ball and backing his strengths, I think it was a big thing.
Right. No, it's absolutely heartening to see that. And then you had Rohit Sharma and R. Ashwin leading from the front, the senior guys, and the players that Deep just mentioned, and the way they pulled their weight behind as well. But this has been such an impactful journey, Deep, for India because the World Test Championship. It's been it's what a two-year tournament because you look back at India's journey. It started from August 2019 right up
Yeah.
until March 2021 before they sealed the final spot. A lot of triumphs along the way. Started from the West Indies series victory. We only lost that one series against New Zealand. The only team with 12 victories in this championship. So, an ode definitely to Virat Kohli's captaincy. Again, he did not get as many runs as he would have liked. There are some stats. Ashwin scored more runs than Virat. Not saying that in a flippant way, but kudos to Ashwin for batting so well. But keep the runs aside. And the greatest thing about this captain is that he doesn't quite get bogged down by his on-field performances because he knows he has the skill set and he got the starts. But that's the most heartening thing around his captaincy, isn't it? He doesn't let that reflect his on-field personality at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and end of the day, it's about winning, isn't it? As far as long as you're winning and players are doing well, everything looks good, and that's as a captain, that's what you want. So, I mean, every youngster who's come through has done well. That just tells you that that dressing room environment is good. It's more relaxed. So young guys coming in uh, can can give their 100%. They're not overwhelmed by the names in that dressing room or the fact that it's test match cricket and all that. So yeah, I mean, credit to the whole management group and obviously the senior players who have created that kind of an environment where young guys can come in and just do their thing.
No, absolutely. And the fact that he's created an environment alongside Ravi Shastri, who took over literally right when Virat returned home from
Yeah.
Australia and stood up alongside the leadership group. And that's credit to them that they have these that we are so spoiled for the riches. But these are great signs for Indian cricket. But looking back at the last 2 years and looking back at the way this team has played, I know it's probably going a little too far because we have to win our Test series in New Zealand in recent times. England, we've had a couple of opportunities, but they came close. Would it be fair to say that this Indian team, at least, is the best of this era without drawing comparisons with the past?
Uh, I mean, this is a really good side. There's no two ways about it. I mean, we still are missing quite a few important players, especially when you go abroad. We won't miss them as much when we're playing at home. People like Shami and Bumrah didn't get to bowl that much. Uh, so I think, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to get into, like you mentioned, into any comparisons. I think there is something good that is happening with this Indian side. I think they just continue with it. And like I said, it's not just about the Indian side, but also about the system, where someone like Aksar also can come in and do what he's done. Well, talents like Washington Sundar and Rishabh Pant are flourishing. So yeah, I mean, someone like Siraj, Navdeep Saini. So I think it's something really good is brewing here, and just let's just hope and keep our fingers crossed that they just keep growing the way they are.
Right. No, and absolutely. And this is with that, we hope this Indian team actually produces some sterling efforts in England too when they take on New Zealand in the World Test Championship final. Before we close, a couple of questions from
Yeah,
from our viewers. It's Sitesh Kumar Panda. Obviously, there are some questions around Rohit as well, given
yeah.
his incredible run here. But Sitesh is wondering if Rohit is prepared to play in English conditions after his run-making spree in India.
I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, I do understand that I mean, his numbers or his record is not that great outside India, but then he has it in him. So obviously it's going to be more challenging, because obviously conditions in England aren't as easy as or rather are more alien to Indian batsmen. So obviously there'll be challenges there. But Rohit, with all the experience and talent, uh, that he has, there is. I mean, he should. I'll back him to be successful. That's for sure. Uh, and yeah, I mean, listen, I know we go by numbers at times, but I personally get a feeling that he's in a very good mind space right now. He's got all the experience in the world, and also the talent. There's no two ways about it. It's just that it just needs to click. For example, in Australia, he was looking good. I know he got his 30s and 40s, but you could see those 30s and 40s were classy. He was not in trouble, right? It's just that, yeah, one bad shot, one lapse of concentration or whatever, and he lost his wicket. Just hopefully he will not make those mistakes. I mean, look at these conditions weren't easy. The runs that he's got here in this series are worth its weight in gold.
Right. No, and it's going to be fascinating to see what this Indian team does. And Deep, it's also probably the fact that this Indian team is so well propped up is because they have such nice, great backup options for each player, right? Even if you're talking about Rohit Sharma, you have somebody like Ravindra Jadeja, Hardik Pandya. All those holes are pretty plugged up. So that
Yeah.
is the other side that you would take a lot of heart from, because you have great first choice players, but the second and the third options are also so strong that they're going to win you important games of Test match cricket overseas and in tough conditions.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things. Obviously, as you mentioned, that you're not hamstrung if somebody important is injured, because, like you said, you have backup. The other important thing is people are already there. They're being pushed now. They've been pushed by the next generation coming through. There are a lot of senior players, and for example, I mean, it wasn't the greatest of series for let's say even someone like Pujara and Ajinkya as well. They got some important runs, very very significant and impactful innings they've played in this series. But yeah, I mean, so they'll be pushed. They do realize there are people coming from behind. The next generation is pulling their weight. Even as openers also, I mean, you have someone like Mayank Agarwal sitting outside. So all this is good. All this is good in every possible way. That there are youngsters coming in, the next generations coming in. They're going to push the seniors. They're going to raise the bar, and this means there'll be some really healthy competition there.
Right. And before we close the show, we have lots of viewer comments, Deep, lots of questions, but I'll just take this one from Tushar Pandey. He's
Yeah.
speaking directly to you and saying, Deep, sir, I'm a big fan of your cricketing knowledge and your commentary. What is your opinion on the new BCCI fitness test, as Rahul Tewati and Varun Chakravarti haven't cleared them? They're still pretty fit in the IPL. So he's talking about your commentary stint, Deep, and
No,
your knowledge that he wants
thank
to
you so
understand.
much for all the compliments, Tushar Pandeji, and thank you so much to all of you guys for actually tuning in and sending those questions. Rashi, are we doing Ask the Expert or whatever? I mean, we're doing a Q&A session.
Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow. That's why I'm not taking a lot of questions.
Yes.
Tomorrow, we're not taking a lot of questions around this today. Yeah.
Yeah, so just a reminder to all of you who are there, thank you for tuning in, and we'll do a Q&A tomorrow. We'll take obviously a lot more questions, but to quickly answer that, I think the fitness test is important. For me, fitness test, I know a lot of people say fitness test, I mean, it's not a big deal. It does not really matter, end of the day, what you do on the cricket field. But for me, the fitness test is, and let's be very, very honest. I mean, the yo-yo test, the 17.1 benchmark is not a big benchmark. It's not, I mean, it's not something which a fairly fit person should be able to achieve that mark. And also that 8 minute 2 kilometer, the new test that has come up, that is also not something which should be too difficult for a professional sports person. For me, getting that fitness is your commitment towards the sport. I do agree that there have been world class players who might not in the past, who might not have got through that benchmark. But for me, it's more about commitment. And also, where does fitness come in? The fitness comes in with converting those 70s into 170, converting those 3 wicket hauls into 5 wicket hauls, whether you're fit enough to bowl 20 overs in a day. I mean, very rarely you'll get a 5 wicket haul bowling 10 overs. You need to bowl 20 overs, and 20 overs at the same speed or whatever, same intensity. So that's where it helps, converting those 3 wicket hauls to 5 wicket, converting those 70 into 170, because that's where fitness comes in, both physical and mental. We should also kind of address that as well, because yes, especially during these tough times, I think physical fitness is important, and so is mental fitness. So I think from that couple of those perspectives, I think physical fitness or fitness tests from that perspective is important as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So beautifully explained as always, Deep
Yeah,
Dasgupta.
sorry, just to add to what Tushar said about IPL. Listen, it's IPL. We are not. You've got to please understand, IPL is about 4 overs. If you want them to be successful, and again, IPL is again from international standards a couple of notch below international cricket, right? So yes, IPL is a very important benchmark, or a sign of a player coming through the ranks, or his temperament and skill set. But to be successful at international cricket, you have to be that much more better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there will be more questions Deep will be able to take tomorrow once you join us for Ask the Expert at Cricket, or at 7 p.m. on Sports Today. And remember, we will tweet out that link where you can come in with on the show and join Deep Dasgupta and Ridhima Pathak live and ask any questions you like, or come up with opinions around the test series. And obviously, we'll be looking ahead to the shorter formats as well. But thank you so much for joining us. But also to remind you that there'll be plenty more on Sports Today, with shows starting at 10 o'clock. We'll analyze a lot of stats for you. We'll bring you a lot of news, a lot of breaking news, a lot of interviews, and we will already start building towards the IPL, as the dates have been announced now, starting from the 9th of April. So that'll be another interesting couple of months to look ahead to once England's tour of India is over. So thank you so much for joining us this Sunday evening. Take care. See you again early Monday morning. Thank you.